That was about Denmark at the Umbraco Code Garden, which is another open source project throwing a big yearly conference, which is interesting. If you've never heard it, check it out maybe next year or something. So we are a guest here and doing a backstage talk and all that. Thank you for joining the community session. If you're watching, please remember that you can always interact with the chat. Please do so because we love interaction, because otherwise we're just like, it's boring without you. Cool. So the agenda for today, it's really packed, so I'm not going to dwell too much. We have some backstage news. We have, of course, the maintainer update. We will have a presentation by Simon from TUI about the developer experience and backstage journey, and a panel discussion about developer onboarding. So I'm really looking forward to everything that's on the agenda today. I hope you do too. Let us know in the chat what you're up to, what do you think about the agenda, and please, also join me in giving a warm welcome to Jen. Hello, Jen.
Hello, Suzanne. Hello, everybody out there in Backstage Land. It's really nice to be with you today. So I have a couple of really exciting announcements, and on the learning and development front, and we have recently launched Backstage Learn, which is our new tutorial experience on backstage.spotify.com. I'm going to let Suzanne roll the little launch video we made for today and for this really exciting development.
Excited about Backstage but don't know where to start? Spotify has a new learning experience designed to help you get up and running with Backstage. Get familiar with key Backstage concepts and technical architecture. And with our step-by-step tutorials, learn how to set up, configure, and customize your Backstage app, helping you to reduce onboarding time and making your developers happier, faster. Get started today. Visit backstage.spotify.com/learn.
Yay! We're so excited that Backstage Learn is live. So I'm just going to flip over to some slides really fast. And the yes, we'll start here with the Learn experience on backstage.spotify.com/learn. So we have started with 3 tutorials providing an introduction to Backstage. This is, I think my daughter has just entered the chat. So the first one is really about an overview of the Backstage basics, the platform architecture, and what problems we believe it can solve. Standing up Backstage is more about some hands-on, step-by-step help on setting up and deploying your Backstage app and adding authentication, and then the and your version control system, as well as just some customization and configuration to get you up and running and into production mode. Onboarding software is really an introduction to bringing software components into the software catalog, creating software templates and scaffolder actions. We plan to do a lot more work on Learn and add additional tutorials. That's everything from extending the search platform to creating a plugin. So watch this space. We're really excited about this, and we hope that it's helpful for folks you're educating about Backstage. We heard from this community that this was a deeply needed resource, and these tutorials, in terms of how they differ from our documentation, is that they're a bit more opinionated, a bit more in depth, and a bit more filled with Spotify best practices. So moving on, we just wanted to really quickly introduce the Backstage Beaver. So the Learn experience also features Bowie, our new Backstage mascot. We're very, very excited. Here's just a quick look at Bowie in action. You'll see much more of this mascot across our. Mom's on a call, babe. Sorry.
Hey, Jen. Jen.
Yes.
In all the excitement, you forgot to share the screen, probably.
Oh, I did. Probably forgot to share the screen. All right. Well, let's share the screen. Here we go. Are you done? I'm just gonna skip back a couple slides. There we go. 1 second. I'm going to try one more time on this. All right. 1 second. Well, let's talk about BackstageCon, and then we'll talk about the Beaver, because I can't seem to get those slides up right now. So BackstageCon, just a quick update there on KubeCon. We are going to be launching the CFP in registration in just a couple weeks. In next week is when the registration and CFP site will be live. We're still figuring out a date for Monday, October 24th, or Tuesday, October 25th will be the day that the BackstageCon happens. We do have the sponsorship prospectus now available, and hopefully we'll be linking in chat on that, on how to get platinum and gold sponsorships, which are unlimited. And there will be, so the cost associated, I believe, for BackstageCon, we're going to be with an early, we will have an early bird cost at $279. Standard cost will be $379, and on-site will be $479. Just to make it clear, these BackstageCon tickets are a separate purchase from Backstage North America. You'll still need your BackstageCon your KubeCon North America ticket to attend. And if you have any questions on that, please reach out to backstage-marketing at Spotify.com. So I'm going to just quickly switch the slides that I need to pull up, and I will very quickly, here we go. I hope that no one can hear my kid in the background.
We can, but that's totally fine. And people, please, so the CFP is coming, so get your sessions ready. Then as soon as it's launched, get your sessions in as quick as possible, because we really want to look at all the great content you've been building. I've noticed a lot of great.
All right.
I'm also really curious of what will happen there. I see that you've shared your screen, so there you go.
Yes, here we go. So this hopefully shows us Bowie, the backstage beaver, and she's not appearing. It is a little bit shy, but I can show this screen. So the Learn launch also coincides with our soft launch of Backstage Mascot. So meet Bowie, everybody. You will see much more of Bowie in across marketing materials for Backstage. And yeah, I covered the BackstageCon update, I think. Let me just move this slide one more forward. This is the updated slide with the platinum and gold sponsorships information. And please let us know if you have any questions across any of this across Learn. We really want to hear feedback from the community around Learn. If you've got some ideas for Bowie in action, we're excited to hear about that. And reach out to backstage-marketing at Spotify if you have any questions around BackstageCon. Thank you very much, and I will conclude that very convoluted update. Thanks for bearing with me, and say hi, Z.
Hello, Z. Well, please see some love in the chat, please. Thank you, Jen, for joining us and sharing all this exciting news. So what have we learned? Well, there's Learn. The Learn site is online. Let us know what you think. Go try it out after the community session, of course, because we have a lot more in store there. Freben, thank you for joining. You have a maintainer update for us.
Yep, it's going to be a fairly brief one. Earlier we have mentioned that we as maintainers would like to start spinning up SIGs, special interest groups, to help focus development around certain parts of the solution. Backstage is a pretty big project, and it is often people are interested in certain parts more or less. And we would love to get contributions into these parts in more concentrated fashion and hear your input, and so we think this is an exciting development in the way that we work, essentially. And the news here is that we are now spinning up the catalog one. So SIG catalog is being sort of constructed as we speak. The first meeting, as you may have seen on Discord already, there is an event there for a meeting on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Stockholm time, where we will, tentatively start things up. To be fully, transparent, this is new to us as well. So it might be a little bit, feeling our way, in the beginning. But we hope to have some, interested people there and hearing your thoughts, and let's, start building this SIG together into something great, and hopefully get, some awesome ways of working where we can be even more transparent and do everything in the public and with more, direct feedback lines between the community and what we all do here. And that's basically it. Like, if you're interested, see you on Tuesday. It's completely voluntary, of course, and we'll see where it goes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm so curious what will happen. Isn't this exciting?
It really is. I mean, it really is to us. We would love to have this grow into something great where, as I mentioned, where everyone can contribute in better ways and focus and get heard.
Yeah, and we need you for that. So please go to Discord, check out the links. The dates are there. You can just where to be, when it's set. So we hope to welcome you there. Thank you, Fredrik, for this exciting update. So next up, we have a story about TUI. And for that, we have Simon Stamm. Hello, Simon.
Hello, yes. So actually, Christian Rudolph is starting the presentation. So,
oh, there! Look at that.
Great.
There you go. Hello, Christian.
Give me a second to share the screen. Looks like Chrome's not allowed to do that. Entire screen. Yes.
Oh, we all know the trouble there.
Yeah. So, yeah. System preferences. Yes. When you use the system the first time.
That's okay.
Okay, I need to.
So maybe
we
in
can
the
do.
meantime, Simon, you can tell a bit more about what you're going to share.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely. So we adopted Backstage a few months ago. So we had, like all the other companies, trouble with having an internal developer portal where we consolidate all the different tools and platforms we have. And it was pretty hard for new developers to get started. We had a vision to have the developers to be able to start a new product within, the first version was 1 hour, since we are coming from 1 week or probably more, when developers can start their product. So we needed a solution where we can, work on that. And then we came across Backstage, and it fit perfectly to our needs. So we had the possibility to extend it completely to our needs, include the plugins and software we have. And don't want to hook now into Christian's presentation too detailed. So let's see what he is telling us also. Hope he's coming back in a minute. So
yeah, we hope so.
Actually, we haven't modified the front end that much. So we stick a lot to the default, and also trying to keep the Backstage version as close as possible to the newest one, to use all the new functionalities and also we are actually using all the default stack probably. So we have the service catalog, the API catalog we're using. We are relying heavily on the tech docs. So we are trying to move all the technical documentation into Backstage instead of Confluence pages, so we can have it more up to date. And I guess now Christian is sharing the presentation.
Yeah,
Christian
finally,
is
after
very
Chrome reboot, everything works fine, hopefully. Good. Yeah, thank you, Simon, for
is live, people.
already covering most of the slides now. Yeah, welcome to us. So as Simon mentioned, we started with Backstage as well at TUI, mainly to improve our developer experience. Only that you know who we are. Yeah, Simon already introduced itself. He is our main person about the technical piece. And my job at TUI is helping with the DevOps transformation, but also overall helping with the developer experience, which we started to do. To give you quick view about TUI itself. So I hope most of you know us as a company. We are the worldwide leader in leisure travel around that, have our own airlines, hotels, cruise ships, and a lot of travel agency. And in total, around 50,000 people working for TUI, where around 2,000 working in IT. TUI itself goes currently through a big transformation and mainly driven to digitalization. And two of the biggest things which we see from an IT perspective in that is as well, to work more to a leaner, more agile structure overall at TUI. And also, as mentioned, like accelerate the digitalization we do. And also, historically, TUI was very country-driven, so we still have own entities in Germany, the UK, Netherlands, Belgium, France. So across Europe, each has its own identity in the past. We bring this currently closer together with a lot of programs to align systems and also align IT people together. So we have now more global teams with remote work, hybrid work, but also to bring together our developers across Europe. And that brought us to a big challenge overall to bring all the different behaviors together and help them to have a unique developer experience across Europe for our developers there. Therefore, my team came up with our statement, what we would like to do as an enabling function across all the TUI entities. And that was about provide our developers the best experience to deliver value to their customers. And one of the things Simon already mentioned soon, we have a lot of beautiful tools, as you can see. And I think most of you have a similar advanced view of tooling. Some of them will be different, but I don't know anyone who has only one tool to do something. And we looked around what can we do to help us with that, to make this easier accessible for teams, more integrated, without taking away the feature set each of the tools has. There's a reason why we choose them, but we would like to bring them together. And that's where we found, a lot of people doing a unified developer portal. And as you've seen, we used one of the phrases from the Backstage area about enables your product teams to ship high quality code quickly without compromising autonomy. And that was for us important, that we don't become a bottleneck for ourselves, for others, and also around the developer community, because we have in total more than 1,000 people who are developing, and all of them have their unique areas where they need to do things, and also bring in unique skill sets around that. So, and we wouldn't like to lose that. Overall, we had decided then that we go with Backstage, and we was very inspired from American Airlines about the name, since we have a great analogy around that with the airplanes as well, and we have similar ways how we see that. And we like the name Runway, so we took it to TUI Runway to provide as well the starting point for our developers there, to bring them to a scope and also a unified portal. And one of the things we found very well, and you can see already some of the ideas as we presented, that not everything what is now on the slide is yet implemented, but to integrate with the different tool sets we have, and also make it easy via templating, but also via documentation and the standard schemes around that, to have this all integrated into our Backstage implementation around that. One of the key parts which we are using is Kubernetes around that, and we started another internal project which is called Atlas for us, how to streamline some of these things for the teams. So we have a very distributed architecture, even from the Kubernetes side, but also would like to give a little bit more guidance centering around that. And that was one of the first things we launched together with TUI Runway, because it gave us a good good point to speak to the teams, to our developer teams, to bring this together. Interesting is for us that we have as well tried to approach an inner sourcing scenario around that. So most of the products you can see on the outside, the blue box, are teams which operating these products on their own. Which we have, for example, our Apogee team operates the Apogee side of it, but they are very keen to integrate with something like Backstage to give all the information they have as well back to the developers around that. And now I would hand over to Simon to show a little bit how it really looks like.
Yeah, that's our homepage, actually. So as I mentioned, not hardly modified. We have a getting started page where the developer can directly see what do I need to do to onboard my component, what are the best practices we have inside TUI, and how can I contribute it? Because we try to make it as open or as internal open source as possible within TUI, so everyone can contribute. Then we have our links and tools collected in there. So if we have new developers, they don't need to get a collection from their colleagues. So they directly have a view, which tools do we have, how can I exit this, and yeah, is it single sign-on, who do I need to contact, and so on. Also, we have an engagement bubble where we have Microsoft Booking included, so the teams can directly book an appointment with us if they need help onboarding, or they directly know how to contact us to make the barrier as low as possible. As mentioned, we are using the core features of Backstage, and since it's always a challenge to onboard developers to new tools, and what is Backstage or TUI Runway now different from all the other tools, we need to create value. And for that, we tried, of course, to create the first plugins for developers which create the value. So we started a few months ago with our first basic plugin, Tenable integration. We're using Tenable for the security scannings, and we wanted to show all the vulnerabilities in Runway. So the integration shows everything without logging into another tool, just with having the annotation in the YAML file. Then we said we are using SonarQube, and we wanted, if a new project is being created, that automatically the annotation is added, so SonarQube will be added, and so on. So we added some custom actions to Backstage, which then creates the SonarQube project, gets the GitLab project ID, for example, adds a new commit with the annotation, and so on. Then we are heavily relying on the GitLab plugin, of course, to see the activity, the pipelines, and so on. And we had a template section in GitLab where all the repositories are representing a template or a module for Terraform and so on. And all these different repositories are onboarded. So we have a better view in Runway which modules and templates are existing. With now 3 months, we have or over 200 developers adopted already our Runway, and we have around 10% of our applications in the service catalog. Now, as I said, we wanted to create a value, and the creators of the modules and templates wanted to see, for example, how is the adoption of my template? How many projects or repositories in GitLab are using that? And in which version? Who do I need to contact, for example, who's using an old version? And therefore, we created also a new plugin which shows these usage, which you can see now. In the gray box, there are listed all the repositories we have and in which version the template is being included. In that case, we have a template file for GitLab, the TUI security GitLab CI.yaml file, and we see in which version is the template file included. And there we can also filter through the different versions and contact them. With that, I would hand over again to Christian.
Yeah, thanks. And as you can see, we are still at the beginning of a lot of things. So we started roughly now 4 months ago, where we really onboarded developers to it. Before that was more like a small MVP under the radar, where we explored certain possibilities around that. And it's currently growing. It's growing more and more. And so we got already some people from our end who was very helpful about what we did for them. So one of the teams was on the data engineers, and they tried to build templating for their machine learning environments. And they was very happy that we brought them a possibility to bring this around for them, that they have consistency. So before that, they had a lot of manual steps towards the templating, which goes from git clone over a lot of setup things around that, but also starting to use the first models and directly in their analytics platform. And one of the things we currently talking about, and I've seen this from others like Zalando and as well Spotify, to integrate as well the machine learning operations more into Runway. So that's something we're looking into it as well. The second theme, was about what I mentioned earlier about our Atlas with Amazon EKS to reduce the operational overhead, and they've done a lot of things to bring this together. What is next for us? And I think I've seen one of the questions already goes to that. So what we would like to do next. So one thing is about event registry, what we have. So we have a lot of APIs, but we have a lot of events around that. We have an own change log where we log a lot of things which are happening inside the deployment areas, which we would like to integrate our data lake and the tech radar. Other things which we're working on, where we look into is LeanIX, for example. Yes, we're looking into that, and we're looking into how we make it easier for updating between Runway and LeanIX. We have seen some, others who would like to have this as well. So that's maybe something we try then as well to contribute back to the community. Overall, we heavily rely on the feedback from our developers, what we would like to implement, and bring this back to them to make this much better experience for them as well. Because we know we can only succeed when we do inner sourcing, and we have teams who bring this together and to bring this around that. The other thing, what we would like to do, where we're working with our enterprise architecture team together as well, and our cloud center of excellence, is about golden templates, if you so like, which we have then security proven to make it much easier to start with certain languages around that. We discovered that there's still a need for that and to bring this forward so that we can make this much easier overall for all of us inside TUI. So that's mainly what we're doing. Process-wise, we're starting to do as well onboarding more and more developers to that. But this a lot of times is also dependent of the size of the team from my end, but also from the other teams, how we best engage with them to get the best feedback around that. Good, and then I would go to look to the other Q&As for a second. So there was some questions I've seen, which we definitely can otherwise answer as well via the chat.
Yeah, there are some questions indeed in the chat. So do you want to pick them yourself, or do you want me to pick them?
You can pick them if you are faster than me to find them.
Okay, cool. So the first one is, how was the experience of integrating the authentication or authorization? Probably both layers.
I will pick this one. Yeah, it's, yeah. So we looked into different solutions, right? So we looked into integrating into the since we are deployed it in AWS to the ELB layer, but we picked one integrating the auth provider directly in Backstage. It was okay. The experience, it could be better, of course. We had some trouble, for example, with the machine-to-machine communication, encrypting the or authenticating the plugin calls. And we are struggling also with features like we have around 50,000 users or more in our Active Directory, so we could not easily sync all the users as an entity to our database. And that it's pretty hard then to get some features like in the actions, get the user ID directly, since you then need the user entity or some other features. Yeah, so that's our experience about that.
Okay. Next question is, how big is the team?
The team at the moment is 3 engineers, plus me, who tries to manage a little bit the requirements and the enhancements which we are doing, but there are currently 3 engineers dedicated to that.
I have the feeling you're downplaying that a little bit. But...
No.
Cool.
The good thing is they are very good, and we started small, and we know it needs to be extended at some point in time.
Okay. Well, next question. Did you start 3 months ago? Or when did you start versus releasing it? This is a common question.
Yeah, so we started with I'll just look at it back in last year in November, I think, was it roughly, where we only played around with it and said, okay, this is something we would like to do. We started then really to do things back in January, roughly, and launched it in March. So we had 2 months where we had it under... where we give guidance to selective teams and team members to show, okay, this is coming. What did you think? What is missing? And what are we bringing together?
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna like to ask you to go to the chat after and maybe answer some other questions, but we're in a packed session today. And that is this one. Do you actually have some sort of reward system for contribution?
So we have not a direct reward system at the moment. So mainly so when we see people contribute something, we will call them out, or we'll make them prominent in our IT all hands. So that's something which we do. But we don't have a reward systems where you get certain points and then you get certain initiatives. It's something we're looking into, but for that, currently it's easy to handle still. So we don't need a big system at the moment to track it to see that. So it's something we would definitely expand on, but it's not yet so big that we have to that we can't do it on a paper at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and for sticking around and answering the questions in the chat. Really thought it was a great presentation. It's so good to learn from each other. So thank you for coming on the show, LDF.
Thank you.
If you have something to share, please let us know. You can find us on Discord, hanging around there, or Twitter, or well, everywhere where you see basically my name or that of Orko Hunter, or AKA Himanshu. Then please let us know. There's always the issue as well. So please add something if you want to share knowledge with other people. On rewarding, by the way, we also have the contributor spotlight, which we have each month. One person who actually gets awarded the spotlight of the month. And you can nominate people at backstage.io/nominate. So please put your nominations. Any contribution goes. And you all know contributions are not only doing the pull request, but it's also doing public speaking or helping each other out. just being an amazing part of this community. That's what is the spotlight. So backstage.io/nominate. I'm pretty sure that somebody will put the link in the chat. Okay. I have to click a little bit here and there to get everybody in. And that is a discussion around developer onboarding. So I'm gonna welcome Samantha. Hello, Samantha.
Hi, everyone.
Do you want to
can you hear me?
Yourself?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Coffman. Samantha's fine as well. I joined Spotify about 7 months ago, and I'm looking at developer onboarding for our engineers internally. Yeah, that's me. And I'm based in Berlin, Germany, in case you want to know.
Yeah, we do want to know that. What is your first, most memorable moment during any time you've onboarded anywhere?
Yeah, I think it would be when I joined Spotify. I came from a company called HelloFresh, which is actually a Backstage adopter, and I was leading the Backstage effort at HelloFresh. And so to join Spotify and see what it looks like internally was one of these whoa moments, because we had tried so many times to see how it was happening in the inner workings, and then I was inside it and I could search Backstage, and it was like magic for me. I think that was my favorite moment. And then aside from that, it's usually meeting people. I think my favorite part about joining a new company is all the new people you get to meet.
Okay. Sheena, welcome.
Hello. Morning, afternoon, everybody.
Can you shortly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sheena Sharma. I'm the product leader for a team that's called the Engineering Delivery. So my team at Expedia Group not only owns the Backstage product, which is our developer front door, but all of the CI/CD products that include CloudBees, GitHub Actions, Spinnaker, and also the testing framework product. And the team's charter is really to deliver world-class developer experience by continuously integrating and delivering code reliably into production, and also improving our adoption of our paid road products within Expedia Group.
Okay, and is there a memorable moment you've experienced at one point in your career that you would like to share with us?
In terms of onboarding, Suzanne, is that
Yes.
your question? I think for me, the most memorable experience was at EG. In terms of onboarding, the fact that everything was ready to go in terms of the laptop setup and all of the onboarding documentation prepared and in a comprehensive space, that to me was hit the ground running kind of experience at Expedia Group. Now, I've worked with many corporations, but this by far was one of the really great experiences in terms of hitting the ground running.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's welcome the last guest. Hello, Jasmine. Thank you for joining.
Hello, everyone. So, Jasmine Robinson. I'm at Netflix. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Senior Technical Program Manager, and I work in the Developer Education Department. So I've been at Netflix for about 3 years, and we help onboard our engineers. We have about 2,000 of them, and we onboard between 30 and 50 engineers per month. So I do have a good memory, though. Netflix's onboarding experience is out of this world. We have episodes, it's very much in a theme, and one of the activities that we had to do is we had 2 hours to create a video based on one of the cultural values in our Netflix culture memo. So that was really exciting. I got to really get to know the people that were on my team very well. I learned iMovie in 30 minutes, and they definitely throw you in the deep end, but that was so much fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing as well. Yeah, so thank you for joining us all. So let's discuss developer onboarding. Maybe just let's throw the stick in the room. So is there a way to do onboarding wrong? Who wants to take it first? I'm going to go with Sheena.
I'm not sure how to answer that question in terms of doing it wrong. I think we have a pretty solid program at Expedia Group right now in terms of making sure our developers are able to ship on day one. We actually have a great curriculum right now with like a Hello World app that is production ready, and you can deploy it into production on day one. So not at Expedia Group at the moment, to be honest.
But more in general?
Not 100% sure in terms of what can go wrong, but just being unprepared and not having the developers being set up for success. Especially the first week of onboarding is really critical to their experience within a new company, and setting them up, with all of the admin tasks and access, etc. I think goes a long way in terms of setting them up for success.
Okay, Samantha, do you want to? What's your idea on this?
As a PM for onboarding, inside Spotify, I know that many things can go wrong, but I think one of the big ones that I see is when our engineers fall victim to imposter syndrome. I feel like I've failed because our technology, our tech stack is very Spotify specific and very complex. And it's always important to ensure that they know that what they're learning takes a very long time to learn, and it's not them, us. And I think that's one of the most important ones to communicate to the engineers that are joining, that, this is hard, this is new, be playful, meet people, and don't fall victim to imposter, because it's definitely not you, it's definitely us. And I think especially in this strange time where we're working more distributedly and onboarding might happen remotely, I think it's really easy to get in your own head and think that it's you. That's something I think I take the most personally, and hope that it doesn't happen, and want it to not happen.
Should I jump in?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go with what I think you should be doing. So if you aren't doing these things, you're probably doing it wrong. Definitely, Samantha, the point on psychological safety and dealing with imposter syndrome. One of the things our engineers did was they crowdsourced a memo on their personal experiences with psychological safety and the imposter syndrome at Netflix. And that is probably one of our most impactful memos that we share during onboarding. I would say not being remote friendly is a big no-no. You definitely want to set things up so that they can be done asynchronously, but at the same time, offer those opportunities such as ask me anything sessions and coffee chats in which people can interact with each other. I think you definitely need an onboarding document in which the person who is onboarding will contribute to that document. I would say having a glossary of terms is really important. At Netflix, we call it our I don't know page. So you have Go links as well. So you can go to go/I don't know. Definitely have a Slack channel that is for your new employees, that they can collaborate and ask questions. And one of the things that I think is the missed opportunity with every session that we do that everyone should also follow is capture the questions. Whenever someone asks a question during onboarding, that is an opportunity to iterate the session in the future and improve it. Anytime someone asks questions within support, you want to use that as an opportunity to find patterns and then again iterate onboarding. So whenever we have these Ask Me Anything sessions or opportunities for people to give us feedback or ask questions, we use those as opportunities and we capture that knowledge. Sorry, that was a lot.
That was a lot. That was a long list. Do we agree on that list, or?
I do feel like the value is having like avoiding fragmented documentation, having a paid road process for onboarding is super helpful for the engineers. It really avoids confusion. I do like Jasmine's point on iterating on that onboarding document, making it more of a living document, incorporating feedback, so we can continue to iterate all of those points. +1 to everything Jasmine said.
Yeah, Sheena, just said something, and that triggered me a little bit. Like, well, if you do something like wrong in the first week, so what are the effects of something that like that happening? How important is doing onboarding?
Low morale, low motivation to me, because the first week of onboarding really sets the tone for the engineer or the developer joining the new community. So they obviously are coming with a high bar of expectations. So it's really important as a company to level set on those type of expectations. It goes a long way to improve morale and productivity, honestly.
If you do something wrong at Netflix, we're about sunshining our mistakes and letting people know and using those as learning opportunities. So I make it a point that if I do something wrong, and sometimes I'll just purposely do something wrong so I can model that for other people and they can realize that you don't have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, we also found the people that would go through the onboarding experience that found gaps in the experience, or they felt that it wasn't as they expected, or they wanted to improve it. They actually then would join. I joined around the time Hack Week was happening. They actually joined a hack that I started that was around improving the experience. So they actually became contributors of the future state of onboarding. So I've also found that new joiners, want to also, improve the documentation, like leave it better than they found it, not relying on them, doing all the legwork, but they're also really motivated by improving it because it's very fresh to them and they feel very passionate about the topic. So that's always a good, way to look at it. You treat it exactly like you said, Jasmine, like a learning experience, but you can also leverage the people that feel the pain. Because they're inside your walls or virtual walls and they want to help. They feel motivated, and it's also a quick win for them. They're providing value when they might take 6 months to ramp them up into their squad. Hopefully not that long, but you know what I mean.
This is where somebody probably maybe would go, I do it. What? So many months I do it in 2 weeks. But
yeah,
let's not go there. Let's stay away from that. That people could like give the feedback. Something is going wrong during onboarding, or some experience is not right. So how do you actually, especially in these times, how do you make developers feel like, or anybody literally feel welcome, and also let them know that it's some sort of safe space where they can give that actual feedback? How do you achieve that in these times? First taking it is the one.
Sorry, personally for me, I've had several team members join in just the past couple of months. And since it has been primarily a virtual environment, Expedia has just started going back to work like 50% of the time. Having frequent check-ins and conversations have been really useful, whether virtually or face-to-face. That is a surefire way of understanding any pain points and addressing them relatively quickly. So that's definitely worked for me. I don't know about the engineers and what's in place right now, but I assume there is a similar feedback loop at Expedia Group for the new cohorts that are joining.
So at Netflix, we are a feedback culture. So it is ingrained in you from like the minute you step on campus or you attend virtually. So we give ample feedback opportunities, including on the Slack channel. Every module that we have, we ask for feedback afterwards, and we collect that in a Google form. And we make sure that we get back to those people to let them know how much we appreciate their feedback and the changes that we intend to make based on what they told us.
Yeah, I think also, obviously, these two have been staffed up to focus on this problem. But I think if companies invest in, PMs, program managers to tackle these topics, I have, randomized meetings on new joiners like every week where I'm just watching what they're doing to ensure that I'm seeing the problems in real time. And so as long as your company is invested people into looking at these problems, you'll get the feedback. It's really important that you carve out space for it, because it really is an important investment to make, especially now, I think, in this new way of working.
As part of the Hello World onboarding curriculum for our new hires, we also send out periodic surveys towards the end of the onboarding program to gauge whether the program was successful, whether we need to make improvements. So I think that has also gone a long ways in making improvements to our existing onboarding program. So we're also very big on collecting feedback, especially from folks that are joining new to Expedia Group.
Okay, there is a question in the chat, and it just like popped away. So there we go. And that is, how can you measure the speed of a developer onboarding? So on the Spotify blog, or one of our blog posts, there is this 10th pull request criteria, but maybe there's other ways.
Yeah, I love this question.
Sam,
I think, yes, I love this question, because I think it's an important one to talk about here, because I think it's still in progress, figuring out what the right metric is, and it's like a work in progress. But I can tell you that at Spotify, we do use the time to 10th PR, but we're in the process of proposing a new metric, because we've noticed that this is kind of a myopic measure. It's only looking at code written, and the developer's job is so much more than writing code. And we also found, we looked at some historic data, and there are some engineers that have been at Spotify for 2 years and haven't even reached this 10th PR. And I'm sure they're doing a lot of valuable activities. I think we've sort of set up the metric in a way where it's not capturing all the valuable work. So we're working on a new metric that will take into account all contribution from developer mentorship, writing documentation, evangelizing within the company, a lot of activities, PR reviews, code reviews, system design. There's so many activities that a developer is, a part of. So I think that is, what's the word? The metric has pros and cons, since we're looking to improve it.
So I can jump in. So at Netflix, we don't look at push requests or pull requests data. What we do is we follow the Kirkpatrick model, the 4 levels of training evaluation. And so the first level is reaction, how people are reacting to the content they're receiving. So again, we have the surveys. But in addition to doing the surveys real time, we also do the surveys 90 days later to ask them, is there anything you wish we would have included in onboarding? We also, of course, have the engagement metrics from our learning management systems. And then the level 2 is the learning. So we have our labs. And in our labs, they're actually using our paved road tools, and they're deploying an actual application, which is great. We have an interactive live session. And I think Spotify calls it their golden path, but we call it our paved road. So we have an activity where we give them different scenarios, and they have to determine which tools along the paved road they should be using. And then the third level is behavior. And this is where we're trying to reduce our support questions that are coming on our support channels. And so we can measure that, which is good. And then lastly is the result. So to us, successful onboarding is that they have a good awareness of the engineering ecosystem, that they know how to contribute, and that they're actively contributing, and that their sentiment basically is that they enjoyed the experience.
Sheena, do you have any thoughts on metrics?
Sorry, I was just struggling with getting off mute. We do have a metric which is called the ship on day one. Essentially, it captures everything from building your artifacts, incorporating all of the stages within our paved road products, and then deploying into production. It is at its infancy right now, but we want to continue to build on that curriculum, add more stages and integrations with our paved road product, and continue to measure that ship on day one metrics going forward.
Okay, I hope that that answers the question. It is a difficult topic, I think, variations as possible, of course. So what tools are useful for onboarding developers in your organization?
Well, I think as Jen mentioned, Backstage, but also the golden paths. You guys call them paved roads. The golden paths are our most popular, most widely used resource for new joiners, and it's sort of like the foundational knowledge they need. But the way they're designed is step-by-step tutorials that build on top of one another, and the outcome is like a full-fledged feature, depending on what part they're working on. But for mobile, it's a feature, so they actually get to build a feature inside the Spotify app, and that's usually the most exciting for people. And then of course Backstage and documentation and having the central place for all of it is the most valuable, I think. I mean, that happened for me. I'm a PM, and my onboarding was very seamless because I had one place to dissect how Spotify worked, and even as a non-technical person, I could sort of get the gist of it and get all the information I needed.
So I included some links. I don't know if you can put those into the chat, but those are all the tools that Netflix uses that I think are valuable. And we are hoping to integrate more into Backstage. We call ours Spotlight, which is funny, in the future. But at the moment, we're not actively using Spotlight for onboarding or Backstage.
Sheena, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing in particular. I mean, +1 to what Sam said. In general, it's the Backstage product, which is the front door for all of our developers. And then obviously comprehensive documentation on our paved road products is what we incorporate as part of our curriculum for onboarding. And then obviously the standard tools like for testing and Jira, Confluence and whatnot, exposure to those tools, in-house tools that we use at Expedia Group.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing all that. First, why should organizations invest in better onboarding? Jasmine.
So there was a study that related onboarding to retention, and I believe they said it was an 82% increase in retention. I'm going to put this in the chat as well in case other people are interested in reading it. But onboarding is your first impression, so I think this is by far one of the most important things that you can do for your engineering community.
Yeah, I think retention is the big one. Looking, we look at churn, especially within the first few months, and then like imposter one too. It also sort of like humanizes the whole thing. Like, we're all people. We're joining a new company, and everyone can relate to that experience. Like, I think, yes, the cost savings are there, and yes, it's beneficial to retention, but also like if you really care about your people, which I think all the companies we're talking about do, it's such a strong investment in your people, aligned with why you have HR and why you have employee programs and resource groups. It's because of this, the first impression, and it's a fun time when you join a company, and it should be.
I agree. I think it's a combination of retention, improving employee morale, and thereby resulting in improved productivity, essentially.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for these answers. To close off, well, I think there's already some resources shared. If there is anyone who wants to share resources they think are particularly useful, please, as a closing one, maybe. I think the one Jasmine shared, like the research, I think that's a really good one. It's really an eye opener to see how long after onboarding things can go wrong. But maybe there's more interesting things for people to read up on that you might want to share. And otherwise, we can just put them in the chat, of course.
I just want to say, if anyone wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to share lots of resources. I have tons of articles that you might benefit from.
Yeah, this is where you all should share your LinkedIn now.
Same with Jasmine. I could talk about this stuff all day, so always happy. And if you have any links to share with me, I mean, I think this is one of the spaces that is like ongoing learning. It's such a new, exciting space. We're always looking for ways to improve it. But I have to drop. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. So nice to meet everyone.
It's time.
Yeah.
I have to drop as well, so I'm going to jump to another meeting. So thank you again. It was really nice to meet you all.
Thank you for joining. And Jasmine, also, thank you.
Thank you, too. It was nice meeting everyone. I'll see you soon.
See ya.
So that was a great discussion, I think. If you have any suggestions on topics you would like to see discussed during one of the community sessions, please let me know. And if you want to join one, that's also perfectly fine. We love some company in these calls. Thank you so much for joining this community session. Next week, of course, is the contributor session. And you can find the link in the chat to the issue with all the details how you can join it. If we don't see you there, I hope to see you next month. Same week, same session, and we'll put the word out on Twitter. Please do check out backstage.spotify.com/learn to get acquainted with the new learning site, and check out that beaver, our new mascot. Thank you so much for joining. I wish you a great day or evening or whatever. Thank you.